the Arch Gaming Network is proud to bring you this board game review. Now here's your host, Sean Smith.
Hello, and thank you for stopping by. Today we're taking a look at the game Coldwater Crown, which was designed by Brian Surrey and published by Bellwether Games. In Coldwater Crown, you are an angler. You are a fisherman that has been invited to this fishing tournament. You will be competing for the coveted crowns in this game, and there are a number of ways to get them. Now, Coldwater Crown is a 1 to 4 player game, and it is a set collection kind of as its main mechanic, but it also has a worker placement aspect to it too. It uses a unique system of using an angler token to do a certain action and then pulling another one from the board to be used at that time and then on your next turn as well. It also features a unique system where you will be collecting bait to fill up your tackle box and then using that bait to try and catch the fish that you'll use for the final weigh-in. There's also a master angler challenge that can give you additional crowns for the end of the game as well. So why don't we take a look at the setup and then the gameplay, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it on the other side. Okay, to play Coldwater Crown, each player is going to get a tackle box. We're going to set up for a 3-player game, but due to space limitations, we'll just have the one tackle box out. It is double-sided, and from best I can tell, it is the same on both sides, so it doesn't really matter which side you use. In your tackle box, you have 4 different zones, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You're going to take the bait bag. This is the bait bag, and it's filled with different colored gems. All right. You're going to take the gems, place them all into the bag, and then you're going to pull 3 out for zone 3 and 4 for zone 4 and just place them in their respective zones. In addition to baiting zone 3 and 4 of your tackle box, you're also going to get this disc. It's double-sided with a 1 and a 2. You're going to place it on the side that shows 1. And then you have these stack of little tackle boxes here. And these tackle boxes have different symbols on them. These are special powers. You're going to mix them up and give one to each player randomly and put the rest off in a stack. You have these Master Angler Challenge cards, okay? And you're going to shuffle them up and put 4 of them out here. Now the board has 3 different places where you can fish: the rivers, the lakes, and the shores. You're going to take the cards for that zone, and you can tell, or for that area, this area is red and blue. Yellow, or green and purple, and then yellow, and this is black, not gray, but it's considered the black. Okay, you're going to shuffle these fish cards up. They're double-sided. One side shows you what the fish is and how much it could weigh, the range. Then the other side has the how much the fish actually does weigh, and then this tag, which we'll talk about later. Not all fish have tags, but you're going to place one into each of the 4 zones and put the rest off into its designated spot. You'll do that for all 3 of the different fishing areas. You then have these trophy tokens. Now in a 3-player game, you're going to remove the 4. In fact, we have all kinds of different tokens here. In a 3-player game, anything that has 4 victory points on it, you're going to remove from the game. And then you will stack these in descending order: 5, 3, 2, place them in this designated area. And you're going to do that for each of the 3 fishing areas. Now you have these colored tags. All right, you're going to randomly select one of these tags and place it here. In the center of the board is the mystery weight challenge. So you're going to take these tokens, and they have various weights: 3 pounds, 6 pounds, 7 pounds. And you're going to shuffle them up and then place them in the center of the board and turn the first one face up. When you catch a fish that is worth 4 pounds, you can grab this for 1 victory point. Over here you have the small species challenge. If you are the first one to catch a flounder, a perch, and a roach, and that is 1 fish from each of these 3 areas. You have the roach over here. You have the flounder in this at the shores, and then the perch is at the lakes. When you've caught all 3 of those, if you're the first one, you'll take this one and get 5 victory points. And then the next player to do it will get 3 and 2. Then you have 2 spots for the Master Angler Challenge. Now you're going to put out these tokens based on the number of players in the game. So 3-player game, we'll put 3 of them out. These work with these cards up here, your Master Angler Challenge cards. Now, if you are the first person to catch 3 of the same kind of fish, so if you can catch, in this example, if you are the first one to catch 3 conger eel, or anytime you collect 3 of the same fish, you'll get 1 of these tokens. You can only get 1 of these per game. This one means that if you catch 4 different types of fish, again, these kind, the Master Angler, this here, your char, crab, dogfish, and then another char, you would need another fish from this. But once you've collected 4 different ones, then you'll get to take these bonus 2 points. Now over here is the 8 different species. So if you're the first player to catch 8 different or unique species of fish, these fish here, not these at all, these fish here, you catch 8 different ones, and you're the first one to do that, you can grab this for 5 points. The next player gets 3, and the third player to do it gets 2. The first player, though, that catch 12 of these fish total will get this mark here, and that is going to trigger the end of the game. You're going to take a disc, set it to the 1, and you're going to place 1 on the red, the green, and the yellow, and you are now ready to play Coldwater Crown. Okay, we've moved the tackle box into this area, so it's a little bit easier for all of us to see. We've moved the small species challenge and the 2 Master Angler challenges, those tokens off to the side. So what is the object of Coldwater Crown? Well, you're trying to collect crowns, and the one who has the most crowns at the end of the game is the winner. There are multiple ways that you can collect these crowns. Another way that you can collect crowns is to be the Master Angler for each of the locations. When you do that, if you have the most fish, unique fish in that zone, and they weigh the most, you will get the 5 crowns. Whoever has the second most in weight will get 3 crowns and then 2 crowns. We'll discuss that a little bit more on how the scoring for each of the areas works in just a moment. You also can get points for victory points or crowns for tagged fish. Now, the tagged fish on the back of these cards, they'll have different colors. Okay, some don't have colors, but a lot of them do. When you do a final weigh-in, if a fish that is tagged with the color out on the board, and you use that fish in your final weigh-in, you'll get 1 extra crown towards your victory points. And we'll cover that again in just a moment to make that a little more clear. The last way that you get victory points is by completing these different fish. We'll talk about how you complete them, but for every one that you complete, you will get 1 victory point. Let's go over the tackle box really quick and just explain what we're looking at here. Again, it is broken into 4 different zones. Now, it should be noted that each of the areas are broken into 4 different zones. When you clear the last piece of bait from a zone in your tackle box, whatever was the last color that you removed from that zone, you get to catch a fish from that corresponding zone and color. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit more to make that clear. But what you need to know now is that zone 3, when you go to fill it, you must fill it to 3 pieces of bait. 4, 5, and 6 pieces of bait. At the start of the game, you're taking the bait bag, which has all of the different colors in here. And the colors that are in here are going to be red and blue, purple, green, and then you have yellow and black. And in this bag there is 1 white diamond or 1 white gem. Whenever that is pulled, you're going to take all of the bait that has been discarded, put it back into the bag, and then shake it up. Now, zone 5 and zone 6 have some bonuses when you remove the last piece of bait. In zone 5, when you remove that, not only will you catch a fish in the corresponding zone 5 of that fishing area, but you also get a bonus, which is you get to take an additional one of these. These are special powers that you can use during the game. In zone 6, you have an option. Whenever you clear the last piece of bait from here, let's say it was a purple piece of bait, it was the last part that you removed from this zone. All right, this means that you get to choose this zone 6 fish, or your option is to take the top one from the deck. So if you didn't want the wrasse, you could take the mackerel instead. So you get a bonus choice when you clear 6 of either taking that one or taking the one on the top of the deck. 5, you get the bonus point here. All right, so what are these special powers that you can have during the game? Well, there are 4 of them, and they are listed on the board here too, in case you need a reference for what the powers do. But the first one is the lure. When you play this, again, these are all one-time use. When you play it, you discard it. The lure allows you to remove 2 pieces of bait of the same color from anywhere on your player board or your tackle box. So I could take this purple and this purple and remove it. Okay, so this one is the line. Now this one allows you to play it when you are catching a fish, and it allows you to choose a fish in an adjacent zone at the location that you are going to catch that fish. So, for example, let's say on my turn I had removed this last piece of blue bait from my zone 4 tackle box. I could then play the line, and instead of taking this zone 4, the pike, I could take the sea trout or this pike as well. So I can choose an adjacent one. So that's what the line does. Now the rod here is kind of similar. Again, you play it when you're catching a fish. So if in our previous example, if I was to remove the last piece of bait to be able to play this zone 4 pike, I could, instead of choosing that, I could choose the zone 4 John Dory or the zone 4 rainbow. And then the last power you have is the reel, and this allows you to swap 2 different colors on your game board. So I could swap this blue for this purple, like so. And we're about to go over how the bait works, how you remove it, how you add it here in just a second. All right, so how does a turn work? Well, on your turn, you're going to get to do a couple of different actions. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your this disc here, and you see it is on the number 1, and you get to place it on any of the empty spots on the board. All right, there's 4 different spots that you can choose from. When you do that, let's say, let's switch this up here before we do our example. Let's say I decided to place my 1 here on the blue. What that allows me to do is to take 1 piece of blue bait from each zone out of my tackle box. So again, when playing into a color, and if it is the number 1, you can take one piece of that color from each zone in your tackle box. Now for the second action, I'm going to grab one of the discs that are already out there. I can't grab the one that I just placed. So I think I'm going to go ahead and grab this red one. Now when I grab it, it's a 1. All right, so I get to do the action that a 1 would provide for me, and that is to remove 1 red from each zone. Well, I only have 1 red, so I will remove that. Any bait that you remove, you're just going to put off to the side into a discard pile. And then when you grab this, you're going to switch it from whatever it was on. So it was on 1, and now I'm going to switch it to a 2. Play will continue clockwise around the board with players basically casting their disc onto an empty spot, doing that action, and then retrieving or reeling in a disc from a different spot, again, turning it over when they do so. Now, in addition to casting into one of the fishing areas, you can also cast, let's say we took our 2 here, all right, and let's say we placed it here where the anchor is. What that allows you to do, and it's marked on the board, is if it were a 1, if you had played a 1 here, then this is an or. You can do one or the other. The first thing you can do is take the bait bag and fill 1 zone with bait. And you can only fill an empty zone. So this one has 3, but it's a zone 5. I can't fill it back up to 2. I have to empty it before I can refill it. The other action you can take, again, if it was a 1, is to take one of these cards. When you take one of these cards, you're just going to place it next to your board, and now it is ready for you to try and catch that fish. As you are removing bait from here, you can now, instead of just putting it in a discard pile, you can now start placing them on this board. Once you have filled up this fish with that bait, it is now considered caught. It gives you 1 victory point at the end of the game, and then you can put it underneath your tackle box here to show that you've caught it, and you've caught the first one. Whenever you've caught a fish or take one from this pile here, not when you catch it, but when you take the card, you refill it here. Remember, on these cards, you are trying to get 3 of a kind or 4 different, or both actually. Now, if I had, of course, played a 2 here, it's now an and. You can now, from the bait bag, fill up 2 different zones. That's one action you can do. If you use a 2, you can fill up 2 zones. Again, they have to be empty. Or you could fill up 1 zone and take 1 card. Or you could take 2 cards. All right, let's say it's our turn again, and we have a 2 sitting here down by our player board. I can now place this again, as we talked about, into any empty spot. Let's say I decide to go to purple. When I do that, and you can remove, since it is a 2, you can remove all bait of that color from your board. So I could remove this, these, and these from the board. If I had a fish that, one of these fish that allowed purple, then I could start placing that on there. Now for my second action, I'm going to remove one. Here's one that's a 1. So I will play it. I will turn it over to a 2 for next round. And now I can remove 1 green from each zone. So I am going to remove the last piece from zone 4 and the last piece from zone 5. Note that both of them were green. That means that you will be fishing in this zone because this is the purple and green zone. So I'll start with the zone 4 that I removed, and that says that I can take the John Dory. But maybe I don't want that. Maybe I already have that. Maybe I caught it earlier in the game. And what I really need is a pike Well, now I could play my rod by discarding it, which allows me to pick a different fish in the same zone in a different area. So maybe I would take the pike. Okay, so now I have this, and it's a 21 pounder. Yes.
Wow.
Then I would restock the lake. Now I have zone 5. I also get the bonus. Remember, the bonus on that is that I get one of these tackle box icons at random. So I picked up a reel here. And now I can fish from zone 5 because it was green. I would remove this flounder. And now I have caught 2 fish on my turn. Restock the lake. And now it's the next player's turn. Since I caught 2 fish, I do want to take a look at them, all right, to see if they match the 4 pounds. Neither one are 4 pounds, so I can't grab this token here. But I do notice that one of them has a yellow tag. That could be helpful at the end of the game. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So play is just going to continue with people casting their disc onto the board, doing that action, and then reeling it back in, flipping the disc, and doing whatever that action was based on the number it was when it was on the board. Play will continue. You're trying to collect the sets. You're trying to be the first to collect, the flounder, roach, and perch to get extra points. You're trying to be the first to get the unique 8 unique fish. Play will just keep continuing to play until either you can't fully restock one of the fishing areas, or if someone reaches 12 of these type of fish, they'll grab this. That triggers the end of the game. Every player will get 1 more turn, and then you're going to go to the end of game scoring. All right. Once the end of game has been triggered and everyone has had a turn, it's now time to turn in your fish to see who has caught the most weight in a particular area. How you're going to do that is, let's say we are looking at the shores here. We're going to score that area first. What you're going to do is you're going to take all of the fish that you had in that area, and for any duplicate, so I have 2 mackerels, a flounder, a dory, and a wrasse. I know I'm going to score these because they're the only ones that I have, but I have 2 mackerels, so I'm going to turn those over. One is worth 4 points, one is worth 6, so I'm going to discard the 4 pounder and keep the 6 pounder. Then, now I have the 4 different unique fish in that area. I'm going to tally these up. That's 10, 12, 18 points, or 18 pounds of fish that I caught in that area. If I had the most, I will get the 5 crowns if I had the most weight. The second most gets 3, and the third most gets 2. You're going to do that for each round, or for each area. Once you have scored each of the 3 locations, you're now going to look at the fish that you turned in for the final weigh-in. So back to our example here at the shores. These were the 4 fish that I turned in. One of them has a yellow tag. That is what the challenge was for this game. So you will get an additional crown for each tag fish that you used in the final weigh-in, and you will do that, for each area. The final thing you'll do is any of these that you completed during the game, you're going to get 1 crown for each of those. Once you've done that, you're going to add up all the crowns that you got from the different challenges, the weigh-ins, the mysteries, the species. Just add up all your victory points. Whoever has the most is the master angler. Okay, so that's Coldwater Crown. And I was recently at Geekway to the West, which is a St. Louis area board gaming convention. And someone in our group said, have you played Coldwater Crown? And I said, well, no, I haven't even heard of it. And he said, well, you've got to play it. It is really neat game. It is has a really cool mechanic in it. And I said, well, I'll give it a try. So, we played it, and I'm glad I did, because from playing it that first time, I was hooked. Now, right off the bat, the components in the game they're exceptionally well done. The game board itself, and the artists here were Ryan Coleman and Beth Sobel, and they did a phenomenal job. Everyone who was involved with the components to the game, they put it together very well. The board is beautiful. The tokens for the crowns for each of the locations, beautiful. The colors are vibrant. I think the use of the gems for the different colored baits was pretty smart. And it is great to not be able to have your hands smell like bait.
Ew.
The fish cards are nice, the variable weights, the artwork that's on that, the little discs that you get that you cast and pull, thick wooden components that you have there, the tackle box that you have. Again, the artwork is really good on it, and it's a nice thick board as well. Now, after I'd played it a couple of times, I had mentioned to someone else in our gaming group that I mentioned the game, and he said, "Yeah, I've heard of it. I've played with the designer. He's from the St. Louis metro area." And I thought how cool that was. I mean, we like to review all types of games, but when a local company or a local designer has a game out there, we want to give it a shot as well. And Brian Surrey really has hit a home run out of this, with this game. So yes, it has a fishing theme to that. And some people might be put off with that. They'll say, well, I'm not really a fisherman. I don't really care for fishing. It's not for me. And I would say, give this game a shot. The theme is thick, but it's the mechanics that really draw you into this game. The mechanic of casting your disc onto the board, being able to do those actions, and then picking somewhere else, changing it from 1 to 2, it really makes you have to try and think ahead, knowing that there's other players that are going to go after you that could kind of mess up your plans. But being able to set your tackle box up, trying to see which kind of master angler cards you want to go after, the different types of crowns that you can win, whether it's the mystery weight or the 3 of the master angler cards, or trying to get to be the first one to get 8 in a row, or checking your fish for the tags. There is a lot of nuance in this game, and it makes it a lot of fun. If there was only one drawback that I've seen in it, is that there are times when you think you have everything set up just right, and then you want to go to cast into a spot and it's already taken, or the only places that are left to cast can't help you. That does happen from time to time, but there is a little bit of luck factor in this game, in that, just like in real fishing, maybe someone's going to beat you to a spot to get a fish, or maybe that one's just going to get away. Setting up your tackle box with the right amount of baits so that you have multiple options, so you're not wasting any turns, is crucial in this game. But it's part of that strategy that makes the game so fun. I also like the fact that the game has a solo mode. I haven't played the solo mode. I've played 2 players, 3 players, 4 players, and they all seem to play very evenly. I think the only difference is that generally when you're playing 4, you're more likely to get to a game-ending scenario where you can't restock a location, as opposed to somebody getting 12 unique fish. But in the times that we played, both have been really close. So I think the game is well balanced, scales well, and just has such a fun mechanic. So for me, I give Coldwater Crown a 9. I think it was a hidden gem and a surprise hit with our group at Geekway. I'm glad I found out about it. I've purchased it now, and it's in my collection. Very pleased with it. If you like this video, please take a moment to hit the like button below. Subscribe to our channel to check out our other great content. And once again, thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for visiting the Arch Gaming Network. For more great content, check us out at archgamingnetwork.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook.